Welcome back to my channel, or welcome in general if you are new. I'm so happy for you to be here. Today I'm going to be doing a reading on what's to come next, or what type of energies are we looking at for the collective when it comes to about the last 2 weeks of April. I just wanted to do a check-in energy, especially because we just had the pink moon in Libra, I believe, on Saturday. It's currently 11:11, by the way. And I don't know about you, but on Sunday, after this full moon, I actually felt wonderful. I was in such a good mood, and it's carrying in today, but it's Monday. I'm feeling a little bit tired, if I'm going to be honest with you, but I was on a serious high, and I don't know if it's because I did the work that I talked about doing in my pink moon reading. And by the way, you can still watch that, because I feel like even though that was specific to that time, number one, messages will meet us when we need them. Also, we're still in the full moon shadow right now if you're watching this around the 14th or so. 15th. So please go check that out if that's something that's calling to you. It was big energies. We were very much being called into stepping into a more empowered version of ourselves by letting go of the mind BS. So I will end it there because there's a whole reading on it, but let's move on. First of all, please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy these readings. It really helps me out to continue making them, knowing that somebody is getting value out of them. Also, I would love if you comment on any takeaways or anything like that, because in the future I will be doing some reading giveaways as well as maybe some energy healing giveaways, and it will be to people who are active in my comments and on my account. With that said, let's get into it. What are the messages that the collective needs to know for the rest of the month of April? Also, in case you're new here, I'm Tanya Ray, by the way. I didn't say that at the beginning. You're just supposed to know, okay? What do we need to know for the rest of the month of April, the next 2 weeks? All right, we're starting out with the Nine of Wands. So this is a stand your ground energy. You can see that in the picture, right? She's holding the one wand kind of like ready to fight. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be chaotic energy for the rest of the month, or where you feel like you have to defend yourself energy. We'll see what the other cards have to say. But what I'm getting so far is speaking up, not compromising what it is that is your truth to make other people feel comfortable. That said, again, it doesn't need to be confrontational. You don't need people to agree with you. You don't need to try to convince people that they need to agree with you. That's not what this is about. It's about being true to yourself and standing in that power. It's also a card of determination. So it's showing that we are working towards something and we're determined. I was just talking about the pink moon energy and what I felt, and I felt really good yesterday, but it did have a level of determination. Like, I want to change certain things in my life, and I feel empowered to do so. So perhaps that's what's coming up for the rest of the month, is that type of energy. But let's see. I hope you saw that. A card just flew out. Yeah, because it's opening up doors. We've got the Ace of Pentacles. And the Ace of Pentacles is, of course, a new beginning. It's maybe a new path that arises that you are able to build some sort of stability on if you follow it. It's something new. And it could be new foundations in relationships. It could be new foundations in literal home, like where you call home and all of those things. It could be in work or business, finances, it's pentacles, so that always is a possibility. But understanding that when you stand up and you're determined to make changes for yourself, this is about you. It's not about anyone else. Of course, take in consideration those that are going to be affected by it, your loved ones, but this is about you stepping into that newer version of yourself. And I really feel like it's connected to the full moon. So those of you who shed some things, even if you didn't intentionally do it, but maybe you were really emotional, maybe you let something go, or you came up with something new, like a new thought, a new idea, a new opportunity pops up for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be big, right? Because I think so often when we're listening to these readings or we do our own readings, we're like, nothing seems to change. Nothing seems to have changed. But then when we dig a little bit deeper, it's like, oh, right. Yeah, okay, I see it. I used to think this thing, and now I'm starting to think this thing, and it's leading me in this other direction. Just like in my example of just feeling really good and positive yesterday and just happy and excited to be alive. That shifted something in me. Because if I'm being honest, I haven't really felt that way lately. I have been grateful for my life and the people in it and what life has afforded me, but I haven't felt like that deep gratitude for just all of the experiences and all of the possibilities and all of that I did yesterday, and it's bleeding into today. Thank you. Thank goodness it's bleeding into today. So let's see what else. My ear is ringing, so I'm trying to let that message come in, but we'll shuffle while that's happening. All right, more indication that there was a big transformation, or there's a big transformation happening, I should say, not was, but I think I'm really getting that kicked off in that full moon, whether or not you were actively looking for it. Now, the full moon was definitely saying in that reading that we need to do the work, okay? But it's not too late if you haven't started it yet. And the page is like, hey, let's dream bigger. Let's do this thing. Let's believe that it's possible. And let's lead with those emotions that help us to get there. Sometimes those are quote unquote lower vibrational emotions. And by the way, lower vibrational emotions are not bad. We, of course, don't want to be in them all of the time because they don't feel nice in our bodies. But they're not bad. They're just literally a lower vibration. Whereas the higher vibrational energies or emotions help us to, we feel better. We feel excited. And we're probably going to be more determined to do the thing by them. But the lower vibrational emotions also can help. All emotions can help us because we're driven by emotion. So it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing if you're driven by anger some of the time. And sometimes the Nine of Wands, it's going to be those types of energies. But it's not about, fighting back in an aggressive sort of way. It's more about checking yourself. And the Page of Cups is saying, hey, let's get excited about this. Let's see where this excitement can lead us. And when we're looking at things with a little bit more of a childlike energy, a little bit more of an optimistic, what is possible? And how can I stretch that? What do we create? You know, it's funny because a lot of people were talking about how the energy of March was going to be so chaotic, and I think it was for some people. It personally wasn't for me. April feels like big energies for me. Just a lot of transformative energies, and we are in the astrological new year now. So I don't know if that's what it is. We're in fire season still, meaning Aries season, but actual fire season as well. Okay, what was I talking about? Was I talking about transformation? Because we've got the death card. And try not to freak out, okay? Because the death card is not a bad card. It is one of my favorite cards. I have learned to embrace it because it's so much what my life has been up until now. Death and rebirth. Spiritual awakening energy can be part of the death card, but it's also this energy of having to let go of an older version of yourself or a path that you were on so that you can step into that new thing, that new version of yourself. Because sometimes things have to be let go of in order for those new things to take hold, to come into fruition. And yes, it can feel really scary when it's happening, but at the end of the day, we are here to grow. We're here to learn. We're here to evolve. There's just something about this time that can really help us step up our game, is what's coming to my brain right now. My ear's ringing again, so I think that's just confirmation because no messages are coming through. It's time to step up our game. What does that mean? I'm going to pull one more tarot card and then we'll move on to the oracle cards. I'm hearing 2 more cards. Okay, so we started out this reading with a 9. Now we have the 9 of Pentacles with that beautiful peacock on it. And I love peacocks. It's my spirit animal. So the 9 of Pentacles, again, is this energy of standing your ground. But with the Pentacles, it's not as aggressive as I take the wands to be. It's more of I am standing in my own prosperity, in my own success. I have created this. I am almost there, if not feeling like I am there. So there's really an energy of creating the version of yourself that you've been dreaming of. I want to know, how do we get there besides embracing the journey? Not to be super cliche, but embracing the journey as well as allowing for the transformation. How do we get there? Justice. Okay, so there's a level of needing to be really honest with ourselves. Because justice is always going to put things back into balance, whether we like it or not. So there's no hiding from the truth in it. So whatever it is that you're trying to create, no more bullshit. This is what we were talking about in the full moon reading as well, of you can no longer hide from the mind prison stuff that I was calling it. It's the mind drama, the scenarios and belief systems that we create in our head about ourselves and how people are going to view us and all of that stuff that limits us. It's time to actually look at the truth of things. What am I creating in my mind versus what is really true? What is objectively true about the situation? And then justice is also about, like I said, balance in general. So looking at anywhere in your life that feels a bit out of balance. This is continuing the work from the pink moon of, and I think justice might have even come up in that reading, I don't remember, but I know there was a lot of talk about balance and about the need to take a hard look at what is the truth. This is, possibly an audit of behaviors as well, of, what am I putting my time and energy to? And is that equaling what I want to create? And if not, how do I adjust that? I'm also hearing give yourself a fair chance. And what that means to me is don't try one or two things and then just give up on yourself, on what it is that you want, because it takes a little bit more than just wishing for it. We have the Page of Cups, and sometimes, big dreamer, not always is there the follow through, in my opinion. So, not just wishing for it, but taking the steps. Ace of Pentacles, you have to actually want to build that foundation. Same with Nine of Pentacles. There's action involved. There's setting that foundation involved. So whatever it is that you would like to change in your life, to better in your life, whatever it is, it's really time to get serious about it, because you have the ability to make big changes and swift changes. But when I say swift changes, it does not mean that it's going to happen overnight necessarily. You didn't get to the place you are right now overnight. So sometimes it's going to take a little bit of energy, a little bit of effort to get there. So think about what that is. What am I speaking to in your life? And what are you willing to do to create the version of your life, the version of yourself, what have you, to get there? All right, let's see what the oracle cards have to say. I'm using Healing Waters, so I pick these intuitively. And there's usually a reason why I choose certain decks for certain readings. We've been talking about emotions and how emotions are a really important piece to transformation and embracing them more and allowing them to actually be processed. Because if we're just holding on to them, I say this probably in every reading, but if we're just holding on to them or pushing them away, bottling them up, they're not actually going anywhere, but they could wreak havoc on our physical bodies, our mental, emotional bodies, our spiritual body, etc. All right. And the connection there is water is often a representation of emotions. It's also obviously a representation of going with the flow. Now I'm hearing that song, You Don't Have to Try So Hard. So even though we're talking about big transformations and needing to take action, that doesn't mean that we should be feeling like we're being met with a lot of resistance. That might be an indicator that you're pushing for the quote unquote quote wrong things. I don't like saying that because there's no such thing necessarily as the wrong thing, but you're focused on something that isn't necessarily getting you what is truly aligned with you, is maybe a better way of saying that. And but pay attention to when you're feeling resistance, is it because of fear, or is it because there's literally something that seems like it's always blocking you no matter how hard you try? Because a lot of resistance is actually just fear of the unknown. So you don't have to try so hard. You are just fine the way you are. But likely, if you've gotten this far in this reading, there is something that you would like to improve in your life or level up in. So keep in mind that when there is flow, you're able to make progress. Okay, the card that popped out during that tangent is the Water Oracle. Psychic abilities, acting on visions, and it's destined. Whew. So some of you are literally going to be opening up your psychic abilities, and that's what this ear popping. That's what this transformational energy is for you, is really stepping into that version of yourself who feels confident and safe, or at least a certain level of safeness in embracing your abilities, your intuitive or psychic abilities. And for some of you, it's about realizing some of the natural innate abilities that you have, whether you would classify them as psychic or not, and how they help you to navigate this world and what they might bring in for other people as well. Sometimes just our energy alone is here to help somebody else, to activate them, to inspire them, to help them get to tomorrow. So sometimes we don't even realize. And there's an acting on visions part of this card, and it's destined. That's the other things that it says. So acting on visions doesn't necessarily need to mean that you are clairvoyant, but what is your vision? And are you actually standing up for it? Are you actually determined to make it happen? Planetary wave, soul mission, trust the inner call, and soul team. Planetary wave. So we're in this time of calling in our soul team. And if that's too woo-woo for you, what it actually is talking about is the people. It's time to connect with your people. I know that's something that was and is a major goal for me in 2025. And if you're somebody who has sort of recently stepped into being interested in tarot or had a spiritual awakening or interested in spirituality and stuff like that, and it's fairly recent, then you might feel a little bit disconnected from the people in your life because they may or may not be there with you. So there's an energy, a push to start actually allowing for that a little bit more. And again, I feel like I say this all of the time for short-term readings. This does not mean that all of this is happening in the next 2 weeks. What this means is that in the next 2 weeks, it's kind of a portal of energy that is opening up to this. I feel like there's one more card and we'll wrap it up. The Water Carrier. What really matters, reflect, and reprioritize. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's kind of giving us a path to how are we going to set ourselves up for this success. It's reprioritizing how we're spending our resources. That's time, money, energy, everything, and taking a good look at what are those things costing us versus giving us. And that's kind of the justice energy as well, of putting things back into balance. And then paying attention to what really matters. So there might be a need to reflect on what it is that I truly want. What do you want? Because none of this is going to happen if you don't have a vision. We were just talking about the clear vision and acting on that. And reflection, which we've already talked about. Reflecting on reflection. What is coming up with that specifically, though, is reflection on feeling a big energy is there are things that many of you thought you wanted, and you've been working toward that. And you've been getting some intuitive nudges to look a different way. However, that's scary because sometimes you are being led astray. Sometimes it's not actually intuitive nudges. But in this case, it feels like for a lot of us, we've been getting a lot of nudges, a lot of messages, a lot of signs, if you will, to look this way. And it's not actually a distraction. It's what we're truly aligned with. And so we're getting these nudges to kind of pivot a little bit, or to at least open up to the possibility that there is something else available to us. Reflecting on our whys and that sort of thing, but also reflecting on what it is that we are aiming toward. Because a lot of the time, and I'm so guilty of this, we don't really have a vision. We know we want to make more money, or we want a relationship that's healthy and happy, or we want to buy a home, or whatever it is. But we don't really have a clear vision of what that looks like, why we truly want it, and how it is that we're going to get there. And sometimes when we look at it, like I had just said, we realize actually it's not the new relationships that I want right now. I want to go travel the world. And I just had this misconception that I can't do that unless I have a partner. But why can't I? I've been getting all of the intuitive nudges that I can do this. I've been given so many opportunities to make this happen, but I've had resistance to it. All right, so with that said, there's a lot going on for the next 2 weeks. Again, this is just catalyst energy. I believe I said that even in the April collective reading, that I don't remember what that was about. I might actually go rewatch that to see how aligned it is with the last 2 weeks and what happened in the first 2 weeks of April. But we're in a time where there's a lot going on in the collective and for the collective. And we get to choose if we're going to embrace this energy and see where it takes us, or if we just want to stay where we are. And I am not hating on anyone that wants that. However, I don't think any of you are at this point in this reading if that's you. So don't allow yourself to be like, yeah, actually this sounds hard. That's not me, because it is you. You stuck around for this, 20, 25 minute reading, whatever it is at this point. I wish you the best of luck. Let me know what resonates, what doesn't, if you have any questions. And I will see you soon, I believe, back with a love pick a card reading. So, see you then.